All right, everybody, welcome to our first online math journal video. I hope you're doing super well, and I hope you're excited to try doing math at home. Here we go. You need to find your math journal and go to the next clear page. The last thing we did in our math journal was the Who Would You Be lesson on March 11th. We talked about length and area and volume. Then I skipped a page because I hate starting on this side with the holes on the right. So flip your journal back to where you've got holes on the left. Make sure that you get the correct date on there. It's supposed to be March 16th. I had this ready before we even left for the long weekend, and now it's just an extra long weekend. Okay, so the date you're supposed to be doing this journal is March 19th, on Thursday, March 19th. So make sure to get that changed to March 19th, and make sure you write the lesson 8.8. That's going to be really important over the next couple of days because you're going to need to match up what our journal lesson is with your own assignment that's in your work folder and with our practice pages and on Think Central. So make sure that you are writing the date as well as the lesson that it is. So hopefully you've been writing while I've been talking. That's pretty normal. But the lesson today is about volume of composite shapes. What a composite solid is a figure that can be made by putting together two or more rectangular prisms. So, while you finish writing this definition, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how composite shapes are kind of what we see in our everyday lives. It's kind of like stacking two different Legos on top of each other, or putting your pencil box on top of your binder, or tipping your crayons the tall way, standing them on top of your marker box. Anything that's three-dimensional that you can shift and tip and stack on top of each other, that is what a composite solid is. So we're going to focus only, though, on rectangular prisms and being able to find the volume of those. So remember, again, volume is what can fit inside of a shape. So I'm not looking for how much paint to cover the surface or how tall is the shape. What I'm looking for is how many unit cubes could fit inside of that shape. So as we get going, you're going to be trying really hard to make sure that you are following along and trying to pay attention. So if you're struggling already, just do a self-check again. Take a deep breath, focus, make sure you find the right colors. You hopefully have crayons at home. I tried to make sure you got them. If you don't have these colors, pick two colors that you have that you can say look close to that. So again, my colors are blue and gray, and I think we should be ready to go. So one thing we need to make sure that you understand before we can actually do this is how to find the volume of any regular shape. So I think that would be a good question for us to write off here to the side is how do I find the volume? We're going to put that in a cloud. Let's go ahead and put it in, why not, a gray cloud. The clouds are currently gray outside, so that works out pretty well. How do I find the volume? So if you remember, to find the volume of any shape, remember the saying, volume is nice, it doesn't bite. Just do length times width times height. So we're going to just answer that question. Volume is length times width times height. Don't forget to try and do that as a cursive L. It's a little scary. Length times width times height. That's of any three-dimensional shape. But again, today we're talking about having shapes that are stacked on top of each other. Before I actually show you what one of the shapes are, I want you to draw this little light bulb. We're going to make our light bulb be blue. But when we ask the question, how do I find the volume? We know that the easy saying, length times width times height. But what if it is a composite shape? Then we're going to have to follow some steps, okay? So this little light bulb will help you know exactly what to do. And really there are just 3 steps. So I'm making a rectangle, trying to fit it here on the right hand side. And I'm going to number 1, 2, 3, but for now just write a number 1. We're going to write quite a bit for step number 1. So step number 1, you need to find the individual prisms. So you've got to be able to decompose the shape or take it apart. So the first thing we're going to write is find the individual prisms. there could be more than 2. There could be 3 or 4, or it could just keep going. But definitely on a composite solid, you're going to have more than 1. So step number 1 is to find the individual prisms. What I'm going to put in my own saying that might help you is to cut off chunks. You are going to decide where is the best place for you to take an imaginary math knife and cut the shape so that you can find 2 separate prisms. So again, this is going to be a little confusing until we actually show it with pictures, but for now, right, find the individual prisms and cut off chunks is what that is going to be. Step number 2, I wish it was as easy as just cutting it off and then finding the volume, but it's not. Step number 2, they're going to always make it a little more challenging for you, and you have to be a detective on step number 2. You're going to find the missing measurements. And we've talked a lot about rectangles and what we know about the opposite sides of rectangles. Remember, they are equal. So if you're looking for a measurement on the right of a rectangle, you can look to the left of it and it's going to be the same measurement on both sides. It's not going to be that easy when we get to our shapes, but that's going to be step 2 is we're going to have to find the missing measurements. And then step 3, after you've cut off chunks and kind of put it into separate pieces and you find what the missing measurements are, I'm going to have you write those measurements on the shapes. Then you're going to find the volume of both pieces. I think the word pieces actually is not the best word here. Find the volume of both prisms. I think that's a way better word because it's going to be a rectangular prism. Find the volume of both prisms and add them together. Uh-oh, my box isn't big enough. Good thing I used a pencil. Okay, I can extend my box. If you need to do the same thing, you can do it as well. Let me just erase and make that a little bit better. Okay, find the volume of both prisms and add them together. See me making mistakes, having to erase things. It's just like you're here in class again. Hi, sure miss you, but I hope you guys are doing well. Okay, steps 1, 2, and 3. So step 3, find the volume of both prisms and add them together. So actually, this should be plural because you're finding the volumes, right? The volumes of both prisms and then add them together. So those are our 3 steps. In the next video that you're going to see underneath this video, we're going to show some examples and we're going to be working in our workbook and going from there. It'll be so fun. See you in a minute.